Hello and welcome to the Middlest, you guys.
Find the script.
This is our Patreon only show wherein I scroll down to find the script. We talk about the episode with the exact middle user rating because we want to see what this show looks like at its exact average, because every show has its highs and its lows, but spends most of its time in that big middle, the big middle that gets bigger from eating a lot of cheesecake.
The big middle that gets made fun of on this fairly fat-phobic show.
Yeah. On this episode of Golden Girls, we're talking about Golden Girls, of course. We're talking about season 1, episode 20, Adult Education.
So we're in the first season here.
Yeah, and it's the Middlest. So we have two plots running here. Dorothy really wants to get tickets to see Frank Sinatra. And this is just such a fun experience for me as a person who regularly puts live entertainment on sale, and how ticketing works and interacting with our customers on ticketing and seeing how they did it back old in the bad old days of 1985, 1986. So you'd call a ticket broker.
Well, she starts by calling the box office, which I remember doing. Yeah. I remember buying tickets by calling the box office.
She calls the box office. She can't get tickets to her beloved Frank Sinatra. She needs to see Frank Sinatra. She needs it. And she can't get tickets. She tries ticket brokers. And then she's like, I'm going to go buy scalp tickets. And they're like, you can't do that, Dorothy. It's illegal. Rose ends up winning tickets to Sinatra. Also, Sophia's like, I'll call a guy. It's fine. And everyone's like, Sophia, you're old. Who could you possibly know? And Rose ends up winning tickets. So Rose wins tickets. Dorothy goes and buys scalp tickets. And Sophia's like, I got tickets because I know a guy. I know Frank. And
well, specifically, it was like, they're like front row center tickets.
Because she knows Frank, not Frank Sinatra, but she knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy because she's Italian and we're all in the mob. So they end up getting their Sinatra tickets. They go, but they end up having so many tickets that Dorothy thinks it's a good idea to try to scalp the remaining tickets that they have. And in doing so, gets arrested and they can't go see Frank Sinatra.
And I don't remember if we mentioned that Dorothy has never seen Frank Sinatra and is desperate to. And so once again, she is unable to see Frank Sinatra because she's been thrown in jail. Yes.
And that is that plot. The other plot is that Blanche has gone back to college to get her college degree because she wants a promotion at work.
This is where I learned that she's in college and works at a museum, information that had not been brought up to me before.
Yes. So she's back in college. She's struggling with one of her courses. She's struggling with her psychology course. She failed the midterm. She needs to get an A on the final in order to finish this class and get the credits that she needs, pass the class. So she asked her friends for help. What should they do? And they're like, you should talk to your teacher, see if he can help you, see if there's any sort of extra credit available. Go check him out, see what the deal is. So Blanche stays after class and talks to the teacher and it's like, hi, I'm failing. I don't want to be failing. I want to work hard and get this done. And he's basically like, you can sleep with me and that's how you'll get an A. And she's like, I'll consider it. And then she goes home and tells them about it. And they're like, hey, you were sexually harassed. And she's like, yeah, I was. It doesn't feel right. But
except for Sophia, who is of an older generation, is just like, we'll get it in writing first.
Yeah. And so she's like, yeah, it doesn't feel great, but what am I going to do here? And they're like, it was wrong what happened to you. She's like, I'm going to go talk to the dean. She goes and talks to the dean, who's like a bumbling guy and who's it's apparently his first day on the job. And she's like, hey, dean, I was harassed by this teacher. And he's like, why are you doing this to me? I don't know how to handle this. Do you have any proof? And she's like, no. And he's like, well, then there's something I can do. Bye.
Which honestly, it's played very broad comedic, but I do feel like that is basically how it goes. That is a fairly realistic scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can't believe you're doing this to me.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet those exact words have been said.
Yeah. There's a whole movie about it that I watched on an airplane called Sorry Baby, where basically the same thing happens.
You ended up watching. So we started Sorry Baby together.
And then we were like, this is maybe a tad boring. And then I was like, nah, I'll finish this on an airplane. So yeah, you can watch. I thought it was a beautiful film. Anyway, so Blanche goes home and is like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna study my ass off. I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna get an A despite this motherfucker. And so she goes in and apparently does just that. But she says to him, she's like, listen, what you did was wrong, and I'm gonna get an A.
And specifically, she tells him in a nice little pun to kiss my A.
Kiss my A.
And she does.
She does.
She gets an A, but she doesn't get the promotion because another woman slept with her boss.
And then they make fat jokes about her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also a joke about Barbara Walters
having a speech impediment,
which, as I remember, was constant. Everyone was making. Wasn't there a character on Saturday Night Live that was just a very exaggerated speech impediment?
Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's great. That's a great. How Jesus. What a time. What a time in history. People are like, oh, things were so much better then. Listen, we didn't have a fascist dictator, that's true. But just the level at which racist, homophobic, fatphobic, all gendered bullying was just not only accepted but encouraged and was just part of the mainstream it's hard to imagine now.
Yep.
There's one point where Blanche, speaking of fashion, is wearing a sweater.
Speaking of fashion.
She's wearing a sweater, and then she has another sweater tied around her shoulders on top of the sweater she's wearing.
You know how it is in Miami.
Honestly, I feel like you could show up to like a high fashion event doing that and it would go over well. If you had like a bulky sweater and then another sweater tied over it, I feel like that's a look that maybe we should be bringing back.
Sure.
I have to note that this is Believe Women, the episode.
Yep. And they don't. And that's also part of Believe Women. This episode was written by two men and directed by a man. It was written by James Berg and Stan Zimmerman, who were like the best episode. They were writing partners. They wrote everything together. They got their start on speaking of things that were accepted at the time, they got their start on a 1983 sitcom called Just Our Luck, which has just the most unfortunate looking premise, which is a white businessman who gets control of a hip, wisecracking black genie. And that's the premise. It only lasted a season, thank God. You know, I was wrong. Maybe we don't need to make TV like we used to make TV.
And that is it for the preview. To hear the rest of the Middlest, as well as all of our episodes ad-free, as well as supporting our show, go to the Patreon link in the show notes. And we will see you next week with Dawson's Creek.